All right, so this is session 3 of 5 of Monsterhearts 2. Once again, we return a wicked and divine Monsterhearts mashup of godly teenage angsty awesomeness slash awfulness, and it's amazing. We're in the height of action right now. It is just the worst slash best night at a club. This will live online forever. Shots, videos, descriptions. Oh my God, live tweets. It's just, oh, it's going to be insane, you guys. Um, anyways, as sort of like before we get into all of it, I have forgotten that, again, this is session 3, and I have managed to forget up until now to actually say to y'all or on camera that in addition to the like want will won't tab on the character keeper, which remember that and go in and update things if you find more things that you want to follow or stay away from. But in addition to that, we're also using the X card, and I'm a horrible person for not having said it thus far. Luckily, we had a very in-depth character and world creation. We know and sort of trust in this play style, and I think we've avoided issues so far. But I just want to lay that out there because Monsterhearts and this sort of game can get into questionable, problematic areas, and also for the like very selfish and simple reason of we're sort of going for a particular tone here, and I think we're all sort of working together to key in on that tone, and the X card is a great thing to be like, I don't know if that's the thing that makes the final cut on our issue, on our show, on our whatever. So if there's something that just doesn't ring true, that feels off for you, we can definitely also use the X card for that. So now I've actually said it, and it's official and it's real. So where we were last time, we saw our pantheon in their meeting chamber, their holy of holies, their central place in the mirror maze, where they all have amazing thrones and everything is beautiful and perfect and serene until today, and it wasn't. And whew, it just went all over the place. Things fell down. Things broke. People were laughing and screaming and angry. And you got an announcement that you're going to be having a new sibling. Yay! A new baby brother or sister to steal all the attention away from you. Thor got jealous, declared she was going to make a performance tonight just to show everyone who the queen bitch was. And Thor doesn't give many performances because they tend to go bad. We're seeing that happen. There was various and sundry heartwarming scenes, one-on-ones, plans to try and stop the ensuing chaos at Thor's place. And then we got to the performance itself. There was strange across-time flashbacks with R.I.P and Tyr. Apparently this is not the first time that unwanted or unwise relationships have sprung up between them. There was Ami, who didn't understand how VIP entrances works, but did manage to find her way in anyways. And there was the Moirai, who made a fabulous entrance, just perfectly timed. The lights, the outfit, the everything. It was just the landing zone wasn't exactly cleared. There was a slight ruining of Thor's outfit. There was screaming and lightning and punching that ensued. So in our sort of like 2-page splash panel, complicated club chaos scene, comic book breakdown here. We have sort of zoom ins on particular little moments. We have the tender, lingering kiss right up close between R.I.P and Tyr. We have this sort of confused and passionate look in both of their eyes, I think. As the chaos goes in the background, we have the little close-up on Tyr of the, oh, fuck, just the, I loved the 2 individual word balloons, a close-in on their hands, clasped tight as Tyr's pulling R.I.P through the crowd. And then, of course, the crowd splits there's a light that shines down from heaven. You see Apep, that Ami has seen all of this, that Ami is heartbroken, but maybe not for long, as Zoe looms up out of the crowd, grabs Ami, spins her, and begins passionately making out with her in the spotlight, in view, in front of you. And just because we haven't gotten a good on-screen description of Zoe, she's fairly tall, not nearly as tall as Ami. I'm thinking in the like 5'10", 5'11" range. Very dark black skin, long braided hair. She is currently it's got like braids of white woven in with the black. It's sort of done up in this faux hawk sort of style. She's done up in a glittery goth mod style of this like white and black checkerboard dress with like shimmering white squares and like translucent black, and these amazing tights and thigh-high heels. She is ready for this shit. She is definitely ready for her picture to be taken. Anyways, of course, there's poor Ami. I think we just get a zoom in on her cheeks, just going full red, her eyes wide open. We zoom around a little bit to Moirai and Thor, who, Moirai, you're in your gown with threads coming off of it and out of the sleeves. They're currently acting as like lightning rods to make this circle of electricity shooting down around you. And Thor, a sort of ball of screaming anger and lightning, is midair flying towards you, as for the moment you're managing to stay out of her way. But I'm curious, is there anything that we want to... We've had this whole teaser splash page, but of course we love frustrating the comic book reading audience. Is there any previously scenes that we want to cut to before we get back into the action?
I have something to insert into the action, but it doesn't have to be right away.
Okay.
So I'll let other people say if they want to do any flashbacks first.
I almost want to have one with Parvati. Just
interesting.
That's as far as I've thought.
Like, what are you wanting to explore with your past with Parvati?
I'm debating if this is pre or post premonition. I almost want it to be post premonition.
Okay.
Perhaps like somewhere in that afternoon before Thor's gig, before Tyr rocked up and tenderly kissed Apep.
All right. I think there's maybe like a hedge maze sort of thing that's here in the carnival that Parvati likes to keep up, like rambling wild flowers going in every direction sort of thing. She likes mazes. I like mazes.
I dig that kind of. Because I feel like this is so. That Jamie McKelvey is the artist for Wicked. I feel like it's very McKelvey-esque, like lots of tiny boxes of panel pieces as Tyr like trying to navigate this maze, attempting to find Parvati, and it's probably got a bit of like non-Euclidean likeness to this, the art style that's going on. So it's very hard to tell like which direction like Tyr is going in, or is he upside down, is he the right side up kind of thing. But I feel like he eventually comes around like a corner of this hedge maze. His hand is probably resting against like the leaves as his face like peers around the corner, and he spies, perhaps he spies like Parvati's like gorgeous like red locks and like the flowers like in her hair like against this green, vibrant green.
Yeah, I think you sort of see her hair like in motion and flying as she's almost dancing around this like central square here in the maze with these large flat walls of hedge that she's just like waving and brushing her hands along, and these different streaks of different colored flowers like paint come out like she's like painting a mural with these flowers that just bloom on the hedge here. She's sort of active and in motion the whole time.
I think Tyr just watches her for several long moments, like not creepily. I think he sort of like takes these steps out of like this corner and observes like her and her element as she's like communing with nature. He probably like cocks his head to the side contemplatively, considering this premonition he's had.
So, what's your sort of thrust here, and what stat do you think it would be with?
Ooh, I think like I think internally Tyr is wondering what his right is in terms of warning Parvati, or like can he correct like the course that she's on? Should he correct the course that she's on? So I wonder.
I don't know. It's do you think it's a matter of like your emotions getting muddled up in your decision making, or is this something where you're leaning on your like godly instincts to really just follow what they say?
I think it's probably emotions muddling like what he feels like he should do, for he's been gifted this power and he should wield it with some responsibility, right? And if the power is telling him that Parvati will die, should he intervene? And I think he's torn because he wants to step in and help her, not just because they're friends, but like we need Parvati's light and life in this pantheon. She's like a guiding force. She keeps us together. So without her, we'll crumble.
So do you think this is, are you approaching this in like love or despair?
Oh, I think a bit of both. Like I think like he does have a really deep love for Parvati that he's so filled with despair at the same time.
Yeah, maybe that was a bad dichotomy, hope or despair.
Oh, despair, yeah. It is love and despair. I think he's feeling much like putting into his head, it's probably not within his purview to try and fuck with like reality.
Cool. That sounds like cold then. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, I think that is, yes, that is totally cold.
All right, well, let's see the roll, and then we'll sort of judge how this warning or not goes.
Sounds good. Roll for your party link. Two d6. Ooh, that's with a 5, and I feel like my cold is it's that's just a 7.
So that's very close.
Oh yeah.
But that means it's sort of ambiguous here. You're both going to get to make a choice on each other.
Awesome.
And it's what is it? You can either gain a string on Parvati or give her a condition.
Okay, so I think like when Tyr like sees her, perhaps they catch eyes, and I think he says something to the effect of like, I admire how much life you wield in a world that is so full of chaos and death. And it's troubling to think that one day that light will go out. And I think I want to give her like the condition I'm like doomed.
And she'll just smile a little bit sadly at you as she brushes her hands over the flowers, and she says, "These, I mean, they're beautiful, but do you expect that they last forever? I'm not painting. I'm not working in marble. We're all working in life. It's messy and short, but vibrant and beautiful. Nothing else reaches these sorts of colors."
You're always such a source of wisdom, Parvati. I think like Tyr takes a step forward and takes a flower from like her hair and like holds it between them and says, "It would be greedy of me to expect immortality from this beauty. You're right. Its beauty is captured within its transience, and we should honor it for the time it's here."
Tyr, you always focus on the weight of others. You always focus on the worries of others, but you look at yourself. You're an amazing bloom. You should focus more on shining. You should focus more on being what you are. You don't have the time to focus on everyone else. I think I'm going to give you the condition weight of inevitability.
Nice. Can I take it one step further and
Definitely.
And have Tyr? I think when she says that, Tyr, like, his smile softens and he says, "Parvati, you make it easy to shine and breathe light for you yourself is filled with such brilliance." And I think it like sort of stroke the back of his knuckle like down to her cheek and then trying to turn someone on.
All right. Why don't you make that roll, and I'm going to check around the table. Does anybody else have an idea for a flashback or anything? So Tyr, as things zoom back in, we see you back here in the present in the chaos of the club. You're pulling R.I.P through the crowd, and you're whipping your head around back and forth. You're scanning everyone, and you don't see Parvati there. So zooming back into real time, joining this disaster already in progress. R.I.P, you were having lovely makeouts. You were feeling yourself in the middle of all this chaos. Your snaky nature coming to the fore, and suddenly, poof, Jamie eyes and sadly staring across the dance floor.
Not sadly, like,
oh,
what the fuck are you doing here?
Broodingly.
So actually, I was going to have something happen before anything could interrupt this kiss.
Yeah, you had said something about that.
I'm going to accidentally work a miracle.
Oh, such excite.
I am going to empower Zoe.
Ooh. How so?
Well, that's the thing. Amy isn't really aware of exactly what she's doing here. And I'm definitely choosing the option, it takes a life of its own. So I had some thoughts of which direction it could go, but this is definitely going to be like very much like Amy doesn't know what the fuck is going on.
Gotcha.
But basically like blessing of the sun sort of thing, maybe something like fire control or fire breathing or turning into a dragon. I don't know what's going on here.
Cool. I can totally see that. This is sort of that, like you said, empowering, or like making an angel, or an emissary, or just a Valkyrie. I don't know what the Japanese equivalent would be.
I mean, it depends on exactly which part of folklore it is. It could be a bodhisattva. It could be just some sort of spirit. It could be the creation of a god.
And these are the sort of thoughts that are flowing through your head as you accidentally do this. What is your second choice?
I think the worst thing to happen to Amy right here is I attract attention of other gods.
Well, I think you've definitely got one at least staring at you. We'll say Tyr, as you're pulling Apep through the crowd, there's this like screeching halt resistance, and you look back to figure out what's going on, and you see Apep handsomely dumbstruck as he stares across the crowd, and you see exactly the glorious, well-lit kiss that he's staring at. And I think there's also another god to show up soon, but we'll get to that. Yeah, as the two of you are staring, we're going to skip to the Moirai because I want just a minute more to think about that. So, Moirai, you're dancing between lightning bolts at the moment. You've managed to avoid Thor's blows, but as she sees like this sort of stalemate that's going on between you, she lands on the ground, dozen paces in front of you. She's sparking and glowing, and just these like Jacob's ladder arcs going all up and down her. As she stares at you and says, "Oh, you did not. I know you did not bust into my first performance in months. Spill drinks on me, and then what? Laugh at me as you dance through the crowd." And as she's saying this, she is taking off her earrings. She is handing them over to some of her girls. She is taking off two of her rings and repositioning the rest. As she comes forward and says, "You sad little nothing. You terrible, poor little... Oh, I am going to whoop your ass, Raggedy Andro. Come at me!"
Oh, man.
And as this is going on, you, like, despite your calmness and following the precepts of fate, like, this is a fight, and your adrenaline's up, and she's big and scary, and you don't know what she's learned in all the months that she's had her power that you haven't. And as this sort of, like, spike of adrenaline goes flooding through your system, you hear a voice in your head, sort of bubbling up in the chemical rush in your brain. You just hear, like, popping and fizzing in your brain. You hear the voice of Ares. And she says, "You got yourself into a real mess. Look, I don't want to step in. You've obviously got things handled here. But if you feel like you get in over your head, you just call me. I can take care of this situation. What do you say?"
Take care of how?
Peacefully, maybe not quietly, but we still have a deal.
Yeah, well, I kind of fucked up, so Whatever you've got, I could use a hand, please.
So I think you're gonna get Ares coming in, but you've had the god of war with her fingers in your brain and your chemicals, and things are getting a little bit wild in your head. So I think as that presence touches you, I'm interested in what you're afraid might come from that, and I'd like to see you keep your cool from you.
Oh.
But yeah, this sort of like adrenaline rush, god of war touching your brain. What do you think might happen here?
Well, I mean, the obvious is another Moirai comes to the forefront from the messing with the threads inside.
I think that sounds very reasonable. Why don't you roll with gold?
Sweet ass. That is a 9.
Nice. So on a 9, 7 to 9, the MC will tell you how actions would leave you vulnerable. You can choose to back down or go through with it. So, yeah. Okay. So, we'll say you're like on the cusp of agreeing, making this like mental handshake with Ares. When you get a little flash of what's going on with you here and what might be coming of the situation. And if you are the one that invites Ares in and lets her take over the situation, you're going to be caught up in what comes of it. If you don't accept her invitation, you can sort of keep your faculties and maybe make more rational decisions going forward.
Well, I mean, as you know, the peaceful one of the three, rational decisions is always a good option. But I mean, she's turning her rings, all right? There is no time for rational thought here. I'm going to take the deal.
Nice. So we're going to skip back to Ami and Zoe. And I'm just curious. We haven't gotten a good visual description of Ami tonight. How did she dress up for this club performance?
Well, she was preparing for a flash mob of Steven Universe characters, and I believe her plan was to play Peridot. When the shit went down, she probably took off the wig, so she's probably wearing like this green weird jumpsuit sort of thing.
Amazing. And so obviously, like, I'm just sort of curious for the juicy details here of this kiss, because, like, obviously Ami is shocked and sort of, I see the very blushing reaction when it first happens, but is this a continuing shame and squirm to get away, or does at some point Ami sort of lean into this?
Oh, she leans into it right away and doesn't know, like, totally doesn't know who's kissing her. Probably is not even that aware that, like, is only barely aware she's being kissed right now. She's like, oh, this feels nice. What's happening? Is this a kiss? Oh, that's nice. I feel all warm and tingly inside. Warm and tingly becomes miracle.
So yeah, you're. I think as this kiss sort of deepens, your skin lights up from the inside, first pink, then red, and then just this like radiating gold that comes pouring out of your skin. And as it comes out, it almost forms into this like dust cloud around you of all these little sparkling motes of sunlight that swirl around the two of you as you obviously like float up in the air a couple of feet, because I mean, come on. It swirls around the two of you, and actually as it catches on Zoe, it swirls up into these like wings made of these dusty motes of light that almost look like they're constantly in an invisible breeze, blowing and tattering away and reforming all at the same time. And I think there's also just where her hair is, the braids are like tied together and mohawking back. They're just these like explosions of sunlight that come twinkling up out of it. As the two of you settle back down on the floor, you're not giving off radiant illumination at the moment, but I think you're still very like glowing skin, and your eyes, I think, are still the full like sun yellow. Anything you want to add in there visually?
Yeah, when we stop kissing, Amy blinks twice and goes, "Whoa." Maybe a little bit of steam comes out of her mouth when she does that.
Nice.
And I agree with the no, I actually think the wig got dropped like when we were floating in midair.
All right. So yeah, that is the really flashy scene that assaults the two of you, Tyr and Apep. It's much quieter, but about as distracting as the other glowing that's going on the other side of you. And I want to come into Apep here. We haven't heard a ton from you so far. I want to check in on what you're interested in. I do see you have your heightened senses move, and this might be a cool time for that, but that would be the cool-headed and rational collected version of Apep, and I don't know what's going on in your head.
Well, that would have been totally appropriate up until this glowing sunshiny miracle, and I think that we see Tyr looking back at Apep, looking at them, and then suddenly it's just pissed off full snake face Apep thing again. Because we've got, like, double sun whatnot, where, yeah, something tricked the Apep side of his head versus the Jamie head.
Do you think this is as far as a darkest self, or do you think you're going into a miracle situation?
Oh man, I don't think it's quite darkest self.
Do you maybe want to try and miracle? You could let Apep take the wheel a little bit.
Oh my goodness, that sounds awesome. I was gonna pause and say, like, so what does Tyr do when he sees all of this go down? But who knows? No,
we already determined you are not acting rationally. You are not taking time to think.
True. I don't care what Tyr does. So
exactly.
I think Apep pulls his hand away from Tyr's and squares up, and you can see that this has been lighting him perfectly, but also brightly, and the light is coming off of his glowing yellow eyes, and his skin's taking kind of a waxy, almost dead look to it, like a snake about to shed. And he just kind of stalks over towards Abby.
So what are you going for here? Are you going for a miracle? Or are you
I'm going to work a miracle, sure.
Nice. So, what problem are you trying to solve, and how do you see this solving it?
Fucking two sunshines is the problem. And I'm gonna solve it by putting them out. I want to, like, switch off the Ami light thing.
Ooh.
Disempower Zoe. Just shut everybody down.
And what consequences are you going to use here?
I love all the consequences. How will I pick? Someone sees what you don't want them to. Obviously, that's the most op-ep consequence ever. And... oh, fuck, yes. Your god's personality takes you for a time.
Okay. The first one's super easy. You know, even before op-ep sort of, like, fills your mind and washes out these sort of careful senses, like, you can see in this embrace, Ami is turned away from you, but Zoe is facing towards you, and as they land and as they come out of it, she sees your face. You know she saw you before you got that mask of power back up. You know she knows exactly how much that hurt, because she's smiling with that evil smile that she had every time she did something she knew pissed you off.
Yep. Perfect.
And so this is our sort of experiment moment here.
Yay!
What do you... give me some ideas on what you think OPEP taking over might look like. What does OPEP want out of this situation?
I mean, I feel like at its most basic, OPEP's thing is kill the sun, so maybe just full up, like, lash out at Ami. I don't know. If there were other ways you wanted to take it, that works too.
Nice. Got Darkness, Serpent, and Cycle. Yeah,
I don't want to go too elaborate because Jamie's not thinking real straight, and I don't think OPEP's really got a lot of planning and forethought.
Well, I mean, his whole deal is, I'm going to try to kill the sun every day, even though the sun kills me.
Well, yeah, even though I know this is how it's going to end, this time I swallow the sun.
Yeah, so you begin moving forward.
Lauren, oh my goodness.
You begin moving forward. You feel this, like, blasting heat of light on your face, and you feel it, like, as OPEP floods your mind, as this, like, hissing cold fills you on the inside. You feel this blasting heat on the outside, and it begins to, like, peel away, burn away your skin. But it's okay. You, in that shock of pain, you, like, give yourself over to OPEP because he says that he can protect you. And as that dead skin peels off the new live skin underneath, do you want to say something?
I was gonna go, if you want to do, like, a full transformation thing, I have one ready to go, unless you've got an awesome one. But
No. Yeah. Give me if you got a prepped transformation, I want to hear it.
oh, I was definitely thinking if I managed to trigger Darkest Self that I knew how it was gonna go down. So
Just keep it a little more human and a little less full transformation and use it.
sure. Okay, then. Oh my goodness. Now I have to reconsider.
I'm sorry, I threw a wrench in it. Go, do it.
No,
Be everything.
I was just, if we were gonna go for max budget on the second issue, then.
Nah, mid-season finale, like, all out.
Okay, cool. Then, that weird kind of dry oxy skin doesn't it split so much as, like, burn off a bit, and just enormous glossy black fresh snakes coils spill out of Jamie, more than you could possibly pack into him, almost like intestines falling out or something, and an enormous cobra sort of lurches out of him, rearing up to about a third of its height. It's too big for this room. It's kind of hunched over almost, and the bisexual lighting is perfect. It's beautiful, and there's just this kind of lost husk of Jamie and his clothes that burns off in a bit of digital distortion and is gone.
Oh, that's good. I like that a ton. So I think maybe you went over with the intent of like, let's get this stupid son bitch who's meddling in all of my affairs and throw her somewhere, fight her. But as Apep takes your mind, he is 1000% focused on Zoe.
Yeah. Less put her in her place and more fight.
Mm-hmm. And so I think Ami is an afterthought for you.
Yay.
You're going after Zoe, and you're not really thinking about the fact that she's not one of you. Like,
this went so much worse.
Good!
I'm gonna kill my ex.
It's gonna be a good night at the club, you guys. Let's check back in with Lauren. We haven't talked to you in a couple minutes. Is there anything that you want to throw in here?
Just like the look of speaking of the weight of inevitability, like that look of shock, fear, and disappointment as like Apep takes over. Like
it's
like,
also unpleasant that you're holding the husk of his hand.
Yeah. You probably get a nice like shot of him like picking it up and looking at it. But it's too precious to drop to the floor. This is a part of Apep, even if it is like a bit flaky and scaly. And like I feel like Tyr does not need to be like a prophet to see what's about to happen. So yeah, I think you get that nice like close-up shot of him like from the background of the sort of wide-eyed like, oh fuck, I can't do anything to stop this. Like, oh fuck, like this.
Well, you certainly can't stop both of them.
Yeah. The person that I really care about a lot is going to hurt someone and hurt an innocent.
So it definitely sounds like you're focused on that conflict over the other one.
Yeah, I think because mortal lives are at stake. I'm just trying to think, would Tyr lunge? Yeah, I think Tyr probably like Tyr like will put himself like in harm's way for his morals. So I think he probably would like try and lunge after like this Apep snake monster, even though he's like kind of dwarfed by it.
I think that sounds like lashing out physically, unless you have something else there.
Oh no. I don't.
All right, well that would be a volatile.
Probably with my banjo. Let me roll volatile. I got a 9 on the die, so my volatile is not that great. I got an 8.
All right, so when you lash out physically, roll volatile. On a 7 to 9, you harm them, but choose one.
Ooh, cool. I mean,
oh, sorry. They learn something about your true nature and gain a string. The MC decides how bad the harm turns out, or you become your darkest self.
Ooh. I almost feel like I'm just gonna pull up the unicorns yourself before I make my decision, because it would almost be appropriate. Oh yeah, no, I'm totally gonna go into my darker self. Because
that's it's all my fault one, right?
Yeah. This is why you can't take Tyr clubbing. Because I think like as the banjo connects, right? Like it's
that's one harm, Apep.
It's probably like the underswing, right? Like it's probably up into the snake belly, kind of like trying to get the soft part. And I think like probably connects, and the banjo just like instantly cracks in half, kind of thing. Like, and we see like the drum bit of it like roll away with a dent. I think like hits the floor, and then Tyr is arms out, banjo free, a look of like, oh my god, I just physically hurt someone. I can't deal with this.
So why don't you read out your darkest self? I know we've heard it before, but let's just get it in our heads right here.
Yes. Oh shit, I lost it. This is it. Everything keeps falling apart and you can't hold it together anymore. You aren't good enough. So beg their forgiveness. Everyone, you've failed, to show them how sorry you are before the curtain falls. You don't seek their acceptance. You don't deserve it. You escape your darker self when someone reflects to you a glimmer of your own self-worth.
Nice. Oh, that's good. So, I think as that mass brawl is seconds away from going down, we're gonna swing back over to Moirai and Thor. Did we have any choices or things left hanging with you? No, it's just that you're going to get wrapped up in this.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, just trying to recenter. So, come in on you. Thor has sort of finished her preparations, is rolling her shoulders, and coming in at you. And she comes in, she gives a leap up into the air to come like slamming fists down on you. But as she's hanging in midair, you begin to hear this sound under you. It starts as a vibration, but quickly escalates into this like clanging metal on metal destruction. As the floor of the club in front of you, you see these like diamond glittering sword points come shattering up through it, until the whole floor just explodes upward in these sort of like crystal shards that go flying through the air and reflecting and refracting the club lights as they go spreading out. And up flying out of the hole comes Ares. She has stepped up her look. She's still got the full leathers, but the shoulders, instead of just like the normal metal studs and spikes, are sort of cascaded and dripping with these like inch-long prismatic crystal spikes that make this like field of sharp shards around her head and then drip down the jacket as they go down. Her eyes, as she turns to wink at you, are completely crimson and like streaming in tears or sweat down her face. She smiles at you and turns back in time to meet Thor coming down with her punch with sort of crossed arms as the lightning explodes out from the two of them. It turns crimson from its blue where it touches Ares. Names, my bane. And as Thor shakes her head and sort of takes a half step back, not expecting that, Ares stands up, strides confidently towards her, grabs her by the back of the head, and leans in and kisses her. At this point, there are 1,000 more camera flashes going off around the club. By the way, everyone is getting all of this on everything.
Nice.
And you, Morai, you can feel this like rising mixture of passion and anger bubbling up inside of you. Again, these chemicals just going crazy. What do you do?
Oh man. I was not expecting any of this. Holy shit. Fuck.
Do you want to let it roll forward?
Sure. What does that mean?
Okay, so here we go. So as she leans in, kisses her, you see this sort of suspended moment in time. You see the two of them in this lightning storm of blue and red arcs going everywhere. You see over on the other side of the club this brawl begin with Tyr just coming in at Opep's head, him flying to the ground, and I think, because we're just going to storytell a bit of this, I think like Ami tries to come running in to stop what's going on. Zoe has no intentions of stopping, jumps on Opep, and it turns into this sort of like mass squabble on the floor. Again, camera flashes going off everywhere. As the kiss breaks, and you see Ares lean in to Thor's ear, her mouth like brushing against Thor's earlobe, and we get like a close-in, tied-up comic panel of her just whispering in Thor's ear, lovingly, languidly, "One." And as she does, Thor sort of snaps out of her reverie. Her eyes shoot open wide, and she goes, "Oh, bitch, no, you don't." Two, as she comes in with a slap across Ares' face. Ares goes skidding backwards across the floor, blood leaking down from her lips, and you see it's like crimson sparkle glittering blood as she licks her lips. Her teeth are stained with it. She comes back in to grab Thor by the shoulders and headbutts her, just yelling, "3!" And both of them at the same time just open their mouths wide and yell 4 as the sound like explodes out and distorts into this roar of thunder coming crashing down from this storm going on outside, wind and rain whipping around this club, the lights in here all pulsing on the two of them as sparks and electricity arc up around them, and this like roar of unintelligible sound and fury and voices screaming and thunder crashing washes over the crowd. The two of them rise up in this swirling electricity cloud. It sort of goes sparking across the audience and lighting in people's eyes, on their hands. And we're going to take a break right here, and I have a quick musical performance to throw up there. As we'll see a little bit of Ares' performance here. Oh, should have prepped. No, it's taking too long. They're all staring at you, Patrick.
In awe and amazement.
Come on, work with me.
I can't get bloody glitter spit out of my brain.
All right. There's a link. We'll take about 8 minutes here. Enjoy your break music, and we will be back. has gone even more sideways than I imagined.
Yeah. I'm like, so are we going to kill each other here? Because we might kill each other here.
Man, I love that music video. The whole like, do you feel it? Would you let me know? Thwack. Summed this entire experience up perfectly.
She was one of my first gods I decided on. Because I love Lauren Mabry, but I saw that video when it came out. I was like, oh my god, that's my Aries. I need this. Also, I just want to say before we get back into it, I thought of Raggedy Andro last week, and I've been playing it over in my head all week long because I wasn't sure if it was like too mean or over a line, but I was really happy with how clever it was, and I'm super happy that it came off.
Oh, it was too mean. That's what made it such a great insult.
What was the insult? I couldn't quite hear it at the time.
Oh, she called you Raggedy Andro.
Raggedy Andro.
Like Raggedy Ann and Andy, but androgynous.
Oh, nice.
Strings. And also your busted style.
I'm cool. I'm so cool.
Totally cool. All right. So are we ready to get back into it? So as this performance washes across the audience, these people are not ready for what is happening here. They're completely swept up in the wave of the performance. And you all see them like breaking out into this yelling battle rage sort of brawl. You see people's eyes and fists lit up with this purple electricity as they come swinging in at each other, and like one of them will take a punch at the other, and they'll just go flying across the club and like slam into a wall and bounce down on the ground and immediately get up and like go running back into this. And it's shocking, but after a moment or two, all of you, with an exception, will realize that like nobody seems to be getting hurt thus far. They're in this adrenaline berserker fury that's washing across them. But it's all this, like, it's somewhere between Ares's purview of like sparring and combat practice and Thor's purview of the Einherjar who go out to glorious battle every day but are fine the next morning, sort of thing. But Tyr, I'm gonna pull on your condition there, the weight of inevitability, and this is all playing out exactly like you knew it would. Like, these people are gonna rip each other apart. They're gonna kill each other. You don't see the sort of people getting back up and running back into it. All you see are a club full of people that are ready to tear each other apart, and it's definitely all your fault. I mean, I just wanted to rub that in a little bit there in case you were unclear.
Oh, it's all my fault, and I couldn't do it. I could have done something to stop it, and I didn't do it.
But the three of you in the snake pile are fairly immune to what's going on. Your gods, you don't usually get swept up in each other's performances unless you really want to. And even this double whammy hits all of you with this sort of wave of adrenaline and emotion, but then you quickly come out of it to what you're doing right here was much more important. Thank you very much. I can't be paying attention to that. Moirai, through your proximity and your allowing Ares to come through you, you are caught right up in this thing and go into a berserker fighting fury. But you will have your moment here in a couple minutes before something happens. But I want to come back around to Ami. I feel like it's been the longest since I heard from you. And all this shit just went down on the floor in front of you. Also, lightning fights are going on.
Yeah. I think this is where Ami grabs Zoe's hand and just pulls her in like we're running out of this ship fest.
As you grab her and you turn to Zoe, you see that like half of her with her shining, glowing wingness is going dim as again there's this invisible wind that seems to be blowing straight out from Apep towards her that is like blasting these wings off of her so that she's only got one at the moment and sort of part of a circlet around her head.
Wait. Since when does Zoe glow and have a wing?
It's a new development. You're not sure where it's coming from. At a sort of meta level, I'm taking this as since you both did miracles here, I don't think one completely negates the other, but
Yeah,
you're having effects.
Yeah, I definitely didn't want to totally switch it off. Just I'm trying, but Apep is constantly defeated. So.
But yeah, you see Ami, you don't know what's up with these wing things, but whatever this invisible wind is, because you can even see like her hair blowing in it, even though you don't feel anything. Yeah, sure, that works. It's a little weird, but her hair's coming loose. Whatever. Her outfit's blowing in it. There we go. Anyways, like you don't know what this is, but you can tell that it's hurting / dismaying her.
Yeah. No, I think this actually fits both Amaterasu's myth and Apep's myth to run away here.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah, I'm going to roll the move. That is a 9.
All right. You don't have any strings on Zoe or anything, do you?
No, I don't.
All right. So you're going to have to make one of those choices there.
Yep. Oh, obviously we're going to run into something worse.
Nice. So describe how you grab her and get out of the club, and we'll figure out what you run into in a moment here.
So I see. So I think what it unfolded in front of Ami is she gets out of this kiss, and then she sees Tyr attacking this monster, and Ami wants to help Tyr, but then she sees like Zoe in pain, and she knows Zoe will get hurt from this. So she actually is like, yes, I should get Zoe out of here. That is the right thing to do. So she just grabs Zoe by. I assume Zoe's still on her feet.
Mm-hmm.
I grab her like by the hand, and I'm like dragging her out of the club while Tyr's fighting off Appa.
Nice. So we'll come back to your consequence there. But Tyr and Apep rolling around on the floor. Much more violently than we saw last issue. Apep, and it's very much Apep that we're speaking to here, not very Jamie at the moment. But Apep, in this confusion, like you get cold cocked from the side. It comes out of nowhere. It is a violent betrayal. You go flying to the side in a sort of like couple dozen foot arc because this is very dramatic and God punches. Your banjo is, I think you said dented but not busted because again, God magic. But as you get up and shake your head, your prey, that golden winged angel bird is gone, is out of your reach, but you look up and you see something else with wings, and it just punched you, and that's probably close enough.
Yeah, and Up just kind of rounds, and instead of the Cobra growl thing, it's just this screech of digital distortion and sort of like a double voice where like the screech is also pitch shifted down and slowed a bit, and it's just awful.
Slash amazing.
And I'm gonna lash out super hard at Tyr.
Ooh, nice.
Which probably would pull me out of my darkest self, but I'm not really in my darkest self. I'm in my Op-Ep self. My awesome self. So... That's a 10, because I'm super volatile. Man, I was hoping for the mid results, because those are all so good.
Okay, so on a 10-up, you deal them harm.
You can't believe in me when I'm hurting you, Lauren. That's terrible.
I'm so angry. You got to
I mean,
how dare you?
that is so Unicorn Darkest Self, but still, no.
Oh god, that. For the moments that could have been. On a 10-up, you deal them harm, and they choke up momentarily before they can react. Oh, I think this all fits in perfectly. You're coming back with the power of a half-transformed god, where he was coming at you with the power of folk music. So I'm going to call this 2 harm. Yeah, I think especially as you're spiraling into your darkest self, it totally makes sense that this catches you aback and you can't really get out of your own head enough to react yet. What would you be doing as a follow-up, Op-Ep? I mean, would you be moving into an extended beating, or do you have something more elaborate?
I think it's more just like rapid strike and then kind of recoiling for another one, where it's not fast. It's like he's narrowly focused on Tyr, but also not impressed by Tyr, sort of. I mean, to the extent that a Cobra can have rational thinking.
Sort of like gathering your power and impressiveness and maybe growing and glowing a bit.
And catching perfect light every time. I mean, the lights are shifting, and yet they're always perfect.
Yeah, there's this, like, hypnotizing pattern going on in your large black eyes right now of these blue and red and purple and pink lights just swirling in this sort of perfect spiral going in towards where your pupils would be, but your creepy black snake eyes. I'm sort of curious. I don't know why that hit me so much. So, Tyr, in the middle of all of these, like, so many gods' powers washing over you all at once, the unraveling of your plans for the evening, and a massive head blow filled with introspection. I think all of this is probably enough to push us towards something like a gaze into the abyss. If you have something here that you want to question the universe or yourself about.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And I think it's like, because I guess Tyr, right, has to go like flying or like tumbling. Like we could probably get a nice like shot of his wings as they have to break like in this moment, like one's like hanging very lopsidedly, like as Tyr's like splayed out on the floor. And I think like he raises his head enough and everything's like hazy and moving and spinning and like there's a ringing in his ears. and like the gods sort of like come in and out of focus. And I feel like it's very evocative of like when he has premonitions, like there's that sort of black hazy smoke and stuff that like the ancient one imbued him with to share like his initial vision. And I forget.
So yeah, what are you looking for? It can be a feeling or a reassurance or a particular question. But what are you looking for?
Oh. I'm Unicorn Darker Self. I think he's seeking. It's probably sort of like for us normal people, you do that Monday morning quarterback thing. We're like, oh, if only I'd done that, or if only I'd said that, or like if only I'd like done this, it would have changed everything. I think he's sort of like gazing into the abyss to see what would have happened if like he'd intervened with the god fight instead, for confirmation that he fucked up and he caused all of this and this is his fault for making a bad decision.
Hmm.
If that works.
No, I like it. Sorry, I was just I was lost. I'm thinking about things there. Yeah, totally. Roll with dark.
I want to know how badly I fucked up and how sad I should feel. I got my dark is dark is -1. I rolled an 8. I got a 7.
All right. So on a 7 to 9, the abyss shows you confusing and alarming visions, but you get your answer nonetheless. So we're gonna circle back around to that because I want a moment to think about that. Too much talking. All right. So back around to Moirai. Rolling and punching and brawling on the floor with various worshippers. I think a couple of things here. First of all, again, because you were sort of the conduit for Ares coming into this situation, the two of you are linked, and given your particular nature, you're getting a really sort of deep insight into Ares' mindset right here. And so while the two of them are up there sparking and twirling and glowing and this sort of electric sun brightening between them, you can feel Ares' mind, and you can feel her sort of triumph in this moment, because everybody thinks about the god of war aspect of her, but she's not a god of chaos. That's Apep's whole deal. She's a god of tactics as well, and so you can feel like the crowing self-congratulation of like a plan gone off, as she knows that everyone in this club has seen this, everyone online will soon have seen this, that there's not a top god in this pantheon anymore, there's a power couple at the top. And she's managed to step herself up into an equal footing with Thor.
Oh my goodness.
So you get a little insight there. But in this haze, in this sort of adrenaline rush, you manage to come to yourself for just a moment, because again, you're a god, and a god of fate, and you feel things coming together. You'd had sort of a vision last time of what might go wrong in Thor's performance, and it starts to recreate itself in front of you. You hadn't foreseen Ares being a part of this, I think mostly because it was your decisions that led to that, and it's hard to account for your own mind. scene is playing out very similarly, where the two of them are glowing and sparking in this like white hot inferno in the middle of the club. There's this ring around them, and as you're rolling through the crowd, you see someone running, like hunched down and running straight towards the performance there going on in the middle of it. And you just have these like flashes of going back to that vision and seeing through this person's eyes, and the sort of panting you feel as this excitement is rising, and you're running forward. And you have just a moment where I think you could break out of this. I think I might like to see you keep your cool to see whether you get out of it.
Sweet ass. Fingers freaking crossed.
What are you afraid might go wrong if you don't keep your cool here?
I mean, if I don't keep my cool, then I won't be able to get my message out there. It'll just be a freaking club brawl rather than a statement.
Nice. And I think it'll also be like this reinforcement that you're someone that can read the threads of fate, but not really pull on them.
Right here. That is a 14.
Wow. Yeah, describe to me how it looks and feels as you just snap out of this, wash this effect off of you.
Oh, man. I think it's this very calm, deliberate motion as the Moirai pulls out some scissors, seemingly out of nowhere, and first cuts off the spinning wheel braided into the hair, and then grabs these like invisible threads between the Moirai and Ares and just like snips them right off. Poor Z stands up calmly, scissors in hand, is like, all right, now it's fucking my turn.
All right, so you have this clarity, you have this self-control. You see this situation unfolding out in front of you. You see this person running towards them. You don't really know why, but you know it's not going to end well. What do you do?
I think I'd like to give a performance.
Amazing. Okay, I'm super into this.
All right, get ready.
So, give performance. We haven't seen this one go up from players yet. So when you bare your godly soul in a performance for an audience, no one can tear their eyes away from your majesty. Slightly modified because there are 3 of you doing it right now, and people are getting really split attention. But you get to describe like all the special effects that are going on here. But tell me what you're trying to communicate to people. An emotion, a belief, your innermost self, visions of the future, etc., whatever. And you're going to be rolling with dark.
Alrighty. I was kind of hoping I could like paint it as like a fairy tale story going on.
Love it. But how's that work?
So I was thinking the Moirai cuts off some of the body stitching going on, and like out of their body, these threads just like spill out and cover like the walls, the floor, the ceiling in these colored
like
threads.
Instead of blood coming out, sort of thing.
Yeah, pouring out in pools.
Are your eyes still stitched closed?
Oh yeah, totally.
Nice.
And so they climb up the surroundings, and they start to paint this story of this person living in this house in this village. And at night, they see this bright light off in the woods. And as they walk towards it, this fantasization of this interesting thing in the distance. They get closer and closer to it, and see this puff of smoke lands in their face. They see it's a large wolf with a cigar in its mouth, staring right at them. And as they turn to run back towards their home, their village, their safety, you see someone with, short, very unevenly cut hair and a gown with threads for sleeves, holding a pair of scissors, walking right towards them. And as they raise the scissors and stab them down right at their eyes, that's when the scene cuts and the threads fall.
That's so great. I love that. It's just spreading up and sort of containing this chaos that's going on inside of it. And as the scissors cut in the vision and out, all these lines, all these sparking electricity lines that are going from person to person and flowing out from the two of them up there, just snap. And there's little bits of static sparks left on people's skin. But as the people all sort of take a communal breath and look up from what they're doing, they see these threads, these sort of, I think, glittering and incandescing in the club lights, patterns and images playing out in front of them. And Ares and Thor come sort of spinning, floating slowly down from the center of everything. Looking not exactly pleased, but, not too bad overall. And I think sort of what you're getting out of here is the story is it's still very much their performance that happened here tonight, but you've made an impression on the two of them, if not as much the whole crowd. They're sort of worried / impressed by you.
As they should be.
Cool. So I suppose there's actually a roll there, isn't there?
Oh, yeah, there is. Let me do that real quick.
I'm sorry.
It is a 7.
All right. So on a hit, the audience gets it, and you get a string on someone present. So who do you think that is?
Oh, that's interesting. What do strings represent again? Just
it's emotional leverage over someone, or sort of you're dominant over them in their eyes. You can pull it to suggest they do something or to boost your rolls towards them.
Oh, right. Fuck it. I screwed up Aries' plans. So let's go for her.
Nice.
Screwed up in very liberal terms.
So yeah, write down you have a string on Aries, and then you're going to nominate one of your other gods, who's going to choose and describe something that goes hinky in all of this, because that was just a vision of how perfectly it could have gone. What actually happened was. But yeah, choose Ami, Tyr, or Apep.
Let's go for Tyr. Why not?
All right. Tyr, you get to make one of those choices of how things go hinky here.
Awesome. So, sorry, what am I picking?
In performance, on the moves tab, from the 7 to 9, you're choosing something that goes wrong with this performance from Moirai, and you get to decide how.
And am I picking from that list, or am I just narrating what goes wrong?
You're picking from that list under 7 to 9.
Perfect. I think I think the crowd goes wild and people get hurt.
all this careful planning, and it still comes down to I think as the threads get cut and as the electricity sparks out, the fighting doesn't stop quite so quickly. And while some people are sort of snapping back to peace, seeing these visions on the wall in thread, there are a number of other people that aren't very happy about the last person that punched them and go to continue, not quite understanding that the kid gloves have been taken off. So it'll take some work because there's like a dozen or more fist fights that break out on the dance floor all at once. But people will eventually be able to pull them apart. But there are a couple of pretty serious injuries that come out of this, which is definitely going to change the story. Shit, I did that wrong still. You're supposed to describe that. Whatever. I'll figure it out eventually. All right. So things seem to be calming down slowly, painfully in the club. But outside the club, there's Ami and Zoe and something worse. So I think the two of you come running hand in hand out the back of the club. You manage to find the VIP entrance on the way out. But you come running out into sort of a side alley. And I think you're just like blind panic, don't know quite where we're going, but we're going to go somewhere, running down the alleyway, and like we've seen before, just face and nose first directly into not a wall this time, but a person. As you go bouncing back off of this man's chest, you, I think, fall to your butt on the ground, and you hear a very familiar, "Oh, what the hell, Amy?"
I hold the bridge of my nose. I kind of look up. Who is it?
It's definitely Tony, your brother.
Yeah, I figured. Oh, no, I think Tony's name actually isn't Tony, and he hates being called by his actual name. So, hi, hero.
I told you that's not what I go by. It's Tony. Just call me Tony.
Sorry.
And you look up at him. He's like in leather pants. His hair is perfect. His teeth are sort of gleaming in the street light here as he is talking to you. And he is obviously like, he's made to come here for the performance and get in the club. He's like, so I was just coming around to see like if I could get them to come call you because I'm here, but you're here. Let's go in.
You don't want to go in there.
I mean, my little sister's one of the Pantheon, and I don't get to come in and see the performances? What the hell's that about?
It's not a good performance. It's not good. You should go home.
And as he's like at that, he turns and he notices Zoe here for the first time. Her glowing has sort of faded for the moment, although you still feel a connection with her. But she's standing there in all of her black and white mod glory, and he sort of takes a second look and gulps and stands up a little bit straighter and comes and like, "Hey, Tony, I'm Ami's big brother. How you doing?" And he starts trying to chat her up a little bit. How do you react to that?
Yeah, pretty jealously. I'm gonna try to shut him down. I'm like, she's had a long evening. We're just trying to get her home. So yeah, I'm trying to shut him down because I'm terrible at this.
All right, let's see how this goes.
No, no, I keep succeeding.
Oh, the tragedy.
It's a 9. So let's see. I choose one from below, but come across poorly. I'm gonna have so many conditions.
I did want to say, since we're sort of moving between scenes here, I think what you did in the club there, in front of everyone's video cameras and regular cameras and the internet and God and everyone, I do think that's enough to clear away the baby condition.
Okay.
Glowing, spinning club makeouts are not what the baby of the Pantheon does.
Right now, why is it not letting me delete that? I'll get it later. So I'm going to give Tony the condition out of his league. And then you give me a condition.
Yes. I think disloyal. Like, he came here very much expecting that his kid sister would love to see him and show him a great time, and here you are, and you won't let him in the club, and you won't let him, like, be alone with this girl for a minute here so he can just get her number and, you know, like, work some of his magic. And he's got a bruise on his chest, and, like, what the hell are you doing? You're a terrible sister.
I am a terrible sister. I'm a terrible everything.
So I think we'll leave the two of you, like, devolving into a sibling argument out here in the alleyway. You know, it's not looking exactly great for either of you in front of Zoe, who's very much rolling her eyes and, like, crossing her arms at the moment, because we're in an alley and no one's looking, especially not Jamie. So what are we even doing right now?
God, she's terrible.
Oh, she's the absolute worst. Jamie isn't here right now. Only Zool. So we're gonna circle back into the club. So things are starting to calm down / heat up around all of you there, Tyr. You've been sort of lost in this painful introspection / mild concussion. But how are you reacting to this as you come back to yourself? You see, I think you see as you come back to yourself, like, the snake monster Opep has been taking the opportunity to engage in some light head bashing.
Nice. I think we see Tyr pull himself to his feet, like one of his wings is just like totally lopsided, like the other one is sort of like perched up. And I think he sees, like, there's still people going a bit nuts from the Moirai's performance, sort of fighting and stuff, I think, right?
Oh yeah. That's definitely happening around. Like, you know, a good 2/3 of the crowd is calmed down, but the rest of them are still engaged.
And I think, like, Tyr feels really stupid because he he knows what he should have done. He shouldn't have like hit R.I.P across the face. That wasn't a godly thing to do. For he has powers. I think he has like protective powers, like powers to like mediate and mitigate harm and hurt people. He should have done that. Why was his instinct to lash out and hurt people? Like, he's so imperfect and corrupted himself. How dare he judge other people when he is just as broken? And I think like I'm not sure if this is a performance or a miracle. I'm gonna read the moves. I think
I think it's sort of a difference in like, do you just want this all to go away, or do you want to like pour out your soul / everyone understands you sort of thing?
I think okay. I think he wants it to just go away. So that's like miracle, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I think like yeah, so I think like he probably does like probably just like 1, 2, 3, 4 and like snaps his fingers. And then I think he starts like strumming his busted banjo. And we probably get like the impossible spotlighting that sort of spotlights like Tyr as he sort of like starts like walking through this crowd of people.
I mean, the light board ops in this club deserve all the Oscars.
Oh, definitely. And I think like it's a very like mournful crooning we get from Tyr as he's like solo playing this banjo, like the very like whispery Sufjan Stevens, and you can sort of hear the emotionality in his voice. Like his voice is catching it a bit as he's like preaching like peace and warmth to like these people that are fighting and brawling. They're starting to calm down a bit.
Nice. So how do we see you fixing this problem with special effects?
Yes. So I think like I think what it looks like is it's probably like white butterflies that sort of like appear in the darkness outside of like the spotlight that's on him and sort of like weave around like the people silhouetted like fighting in this dark club. And I think they leave behind, you can see sort of like the trail they leave behind this audience as they weave like in and out amongst these people and like spin them. It's almost like it's like a purer version of Moirai's threads. Like Moirai's threads like wrap and spin up people and like bring them in, whereas these singular threads are about freedom and peace and light. So letting these people go.
Nice. And I think sort of given our visual allegory here and what you're feeling, I think the butterflies, they're actually like pieces of that beam of spotlight that's coming down on you, breaking away and taking butterfly form.
Yes.
So as they spread out through the audience, like your spotlight is getting like threadbare and spotty, and there's just a couple little bits of light still falling on you by the end.
That is perfect. That's totally what happens.
And I think we'll carry the sort of comic convention forward there, and the panel will get broken apart into butterflies flying off into the edge until we're just left with blackness. And we're going to close out the club scene there, because certainly there's more that could happen, but I don't think it could get any more climaxy. So why don't we take a 5-minute break here? I don't have a particular musical performance for this one, but just into it. We do have a musical performance. Excited! Oh, I get to see what it is. So take a look at that one. We'll see what it is, and we'll be back in 6 minutes. Then, so 33 after the hour, and then we'll see how we finish out the last third of this.
This is so good.
And I was totally going to ask if my darkest self exit points apply to my god self, because I have no idea. But it doesn't matter now because we've skipped ahead.
Patrick, you muted.
You're muted.
Hush. It was amazing. What are your darkest self exit points?
If the sun rises or if I wound someone I really care about. And I mean, R.I.P doesn't care about anybody, but also he totally actually cares about Tyr, so.
Yeah, there's that, and I was going to say for fucking R.I.P being triggered by sun gods, I was going to say sunrise would break you out of that one. So, multiple different ways.
Yay, I'm not a snake forever.
But not you, Tyr. You're still sad forevers.
Yay.
It's the best. So, that took more time than I anticipated, but it always does, and was totally worth it. I think, at least. But we've got time here for at least once around the table, and maybe twice. We can skip forward to the next day, to a couple days, to something later that night, but not connected to the scene, whatever you feel. But I'm sort of curious to go around the table and see what people's goals are going forward. So I will start with Alex, the Moirai. And just like lay out what you're thinking of. We'll go around, get everybody's sort of scene laid out, and then we'll hit them back in the best order we can think of.
First thing that pops to mind is go have a heart-to-heart with Ares about why the fuck you fucked everything up.
It's definitely Ares' fault.
I think you answered your own question. Why the fuck did Ares fuck everything up? Because Ares fucks everything up.
Yeah, but I mean, you gotta vent every now and then.
All right. Cool. So, David, what do you see for Ami?
I really would love to see a scene with Ami and Tyr, where Ami finds out what happened after she fled the club, and Tyr being all self-deprecating, and Ami being like, "But I love you."
Nice. Tyr, what do you see?
I called this at work. Oh shit, what was it? The tour of apologies. Where like you do something you regret and is bad, so you sort of like over apologize for what you did. And I think that could be anyone. That could be Ami. I could say, definitely R.I.P for sure. I would love to have a scene with both of those people.
I would love to see one with you and R.I.P first. So, if you don't mind, I'd like to focus on that one. And maybe if we get to a second round, or if that's short, we could see some more. God. Oh.
Alex and I are definitely related.
And Ryan, what do you see for R.I.P?
I was definitely seeing R.I.P somehow like having a black eye from this banjo thing, but it's somehow being hot and probably trying to apologize to Tyr somehow for, trying to kill him as a snake. It happens. Every couple does that sometimes. But yeah.
Cool. Let's put off that one. I'm interested in starting with Ami and Tyr, I think.
Where do you see this happening, Abby?
Ah, jeez. I mean, where would Ami find Tyr?
Yeah.
Like, I could see Ami totally doing the thing, like, making sure she frequents the place that Tyr frequents.
Ew. It's probably it's definitely like, at these kinds of carnivals they have like the free drop ride, like when you go up and then there's a foot and then they drop you down.
Oh yeah.
I think he often like hangs out, like I think the chairing arrangement is sort of like stuck at the top, so like he like that's his moping perch, is like he goes up there to mope and look out at the view of this seaside scenery.
So yeah, I think it's what it is you've got your ticket and you're about to go on the ride, and right before the cutoff there's Ami, like, and she just comes and sits in the seat next to you.
Yes.
And you already know that the ride's going to get stuck at the top.
Yeah. I think Tyr looks at Ami and then he sort of like looks away again.
Oh, hi, Tyr. Oh my God, what happened to you?
It's complicated, Ami, but needless to say, whatever happened, I deserved all of it.
No, what? That's insane. What?
Oh, I
saw you battling that monster. Like, you probably saved Zoe's life.
Did I? I feel as if action in action, whatever I do, I just end up hurting people. That monster was a pip. I don't quite know what set him off, but I saw him go after Zoe and I felt I had to stop him, but my instinct was violence, and I can't forgive myself for that.
I mean, I don't know. I only saw it for like a second, but before you swung your banjo, it looked like, I guess it was Apep was like going to charge Zoe, and she doesn't have any powers. Apep would have like ripped her in half.
That was my thought too, but how can I be so sure that?
I mean, we can't second guess everything. I mean, I don't know. You seem to know what you're doing way more than I do, and even I know that what you're talking about is bullshit.
Ami, you're very sweet. Your heart is so bright and earnest, but I fear you're mistaken.
Do you think maybe you're trying to, or you're leaning towards a turn someone on there, Ami? And you're really going out of your way?
I wasn't, and then I hear that and I say, I put my hand on Tyr's thigh. I'm like, I believe. I
believe in you.
I was going to say it, but I'm like, oh, should I change the phrasing a little bit?
No, do it.
Oh no, that's good.
Oh. That's the way to turn Tyr on to BH.
No, it's a 7. I'm so close to failing. Why can't I fail?
So, Tyr, you can either give Ami a string or choose one of the reactions.
Ooh.
For her accursed success.
I think. Oh, I kind of want to give you a string because now you know exactly how to manipulate and control Tyr, which is playing into his insecurities about being so responsible for everything, but not having any power to change the world around it.
So I think that's sort of like cracking through some of that, but not totally breaking Tyr out of this.
Yeah, I mean, because you say I believe in you, right?
Yeah.
And I think that does like crack through some of his insecurities. Like it's probably been worse. It's probably been not only do you know like how to put Tyr like in a dark place, but you can also control how he gets out of it, which is to turn his own doctrine against him.
Oh, actually, I think this. I don't know. I think this might resonate in an interesting way. As you hear your own message, your own words come back at you in this very heartfelt way from Ami. I think this is seeing your own goodness reflected in other people.
Oh yeah, totally.
I think this is like Ami's come out of her shell, is like actively going out of her way to talk about difficult emotional things with you and connect on a personal level.
Yeah, and I think like Tyr looks down at the hand on his thigh and like looks back up at Ami with that sincere like honesty about like I believe in you, and it's probably the world's most awkward hug because we're like
Yeah, because we're strapped in.
yeah, but he reaches out to like embrace Ami as best he can.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's adorable. And so yeah, like even more weight to that string of like Ami can break you out of your darkest self. Ami brought you back into your right mind, sort of thing.
Yeah,
And the back of Ami's head is like, fuck these these restraints. Fuck them, fuck them, fuck them. I'd be kissing him if it wasn't for them.
Oh, that's perfect. So we're definitely gonna cut there. Oh, oh my god. That was amazing. Just like rattling up against them. But you got to hold his hand.
I did.
and Tyr will probably hold it like all the way up and down, or I guess like all the way up.
Cool. So Moira, you wanted to go find Ares, right?
Yes.
Where do you think you find her? You have an interesting backdrop, or
I like the idea of it being the same bar where he originally found her, but this time Morai just like kicks the doors in.
nice. It's a much more jovial drinking atmosphere as you come in. Everyone is definitely very drunk, but whereas before there was a lot of like violent moshing and a couple of bar fights, everything is very like we're making toasts and everybody is bringing up stories of like the great things that everybody else did. It's this very like soldiers celebrating after a battle sort of feel, but it's not like any of these people were there at the club or anything.
Nice. I think the Morai is gonna find Ares and just like angrily stroll over towards her. Start the conversation with, "What the fuck?"
What the fuck what? I'm sorry, did I not get a drink for you? Get a drink for her. Sir. Sorry.
Morai will just like scull whatever is handed to Zer. Be like, "I thought you were on my side."
Let's go ahead and get a shut someone down out of here because I want some guidance on how to react with her.
Sweet ass. That is a 12.
Wow.
Real cold.
Yeah. So you get to make a choice from below. And she actually currently has no strings on you.
Fuck it. I'm the deity of strings. I'll get a string on her.
Nice. So is there anything that you would like to demand of her in this scene? Or do you want to save that string for later? You're coming across well, so you're already going to get some of an explanation out of her, you know, what she was thinking. But is there something that you want from her?
Huh? I mean, in the ideal world, she'd be willing to help me. It's best buds. We can take down the power or whatever, but
Help
the
you with
explanation
what?
is-
Like,
Huh?
what are you laying out? What specifically do you want her to help you with? Is it the
I want to
like?
mess up. I forgot their name. Zervan's plans.
Okay. Cool. So I think in the case of NPCs, I decide what it would take for that. Just trying to remind myself how this works exactly. Fine. If you agree that you'll never come or interfere with one of her Thor's performances again. She'll back your play totally with Zervan and help you out however she can.
And I can totally break this promise at any time, right? Like
You could.
it'll just make people really angry.
That'll make people really angry, and just to lay out some meta level here, you're a god of fate. And so if you go around breaking a serious promise to another god like this, it's definitely going to inform my hard moves against you going forward. It's not like you'll suddenly get immediate consequences, but you know, it'll label you Oathbreaker, and that'll play into your future.
Oh, nice. It's a cool title.
But it doesn't have to come to that.
Yeah, of course not. Why would it ever?
Why would it ever? So yeah, I think you lay out this plan. Are there any like details about how you want to approach Zervan, or is it just a general idea of like no new gods?
Yeah, just a general idea at this moment. But also, I would like to get some kind of explanation for what the fuck happened.
So she looks at you and she says, I know you're gonna have a hard time believing this, but I tried my best. I mean, I was there. There was obviously some chaos and some horribleness going down. You haven't really seen Thor go off. Oh, Lord, when Thor goes off, she goes off in the sense that like property values decrease because no one likes living next to a blasted sinkhole. So I thought, well, I'm certainly not going to come in and continue your just fucking hilarious plan of publicly humiliating her. Definitely the best way to go about it. Like, keep that in mind. Do that again. It'll work every time. I promise. No, I thought, okay, well, how can we turn this and make it better? So, kitty fun playtime punchy bounce house. I mean, let's be honest. I'm Ares, the fucking god of war. It's not like my help was going to involve hugs and cuddly bears and tickle fights. But training, a little preparation for the battlefield, that's something I could pull together. And so it was nice and contained. Till the goddamn Tyr decided that it would be funny if he just stuck his inexperienced hand in.
That went exactly as you planned, and you know it.
I am offended. I am a god of my word. We made a treaty, met on the field of battle, made an alliance.
And you used me for your purposes. Good fucking job.
I thought you were the one that was able to see the future. Maybe you should try looking a little harder next time. I was doing what you wanted. I never said I was going to do it for free.
I think Morai is just gonna walk off and, as a parting line, say, "Oh fuck, I had a line, but I forgot it."
Oh no!
Oh, last time you said you did all this, that people would be less sad when you left. Well, you're doing a real fucking good job.
Ow! Can't do 2 shutdowns in a row, but that was real damn close.
Oh, Ares, why?
Do we have
Also, fuck
do we-
Ares.
like? I'm sort of interested. Do you have like a little moment out on the street after you slam out?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Emotional
Because-
stability was never my forte.
Well, and we've seen a very like your plans have gone up and down, but we've seen a fairly controlled Moirai thus far. You got sucked up into that thing, the brawl, but that wasn't really your fault. I think it'd be sort of interesting. What does it look like as like your control or your mask slips?
Mm. Oh, I think we see like the threads from like whatever Moirai is wearing, like lash out for a moment, and like leave like scars across the front of the shop. Like they tear it apart just a little. This like flash of anger, and then like weave themselves back into the clothes.
Nice. And of course that like lash out, that flash of anger, it's cutting, it's shears, it's the scissors.
Yeah.
Like that. I think it's definitely time to see Apep and Tyr. Night of, morning after, days of silence down the road.
Oh, they're all good options.
I don't know. What do you think, dear?
I'm fine on the time. I feel like where it happens, so it has to be in like Apep's moping cave. Like I think perhaps.
Definitely in the mope cave.
Brooding cave.
Yeah.
Yeah, where else do you brood? I mean, come on.
Very manly and cool brooding cave. So, Apep, how far into the future is this? Mere hours, days?
And while you think, I think Tyr definitely went here to feel closer to you.
Let's say at least the next day, because I think Apep definitely had some solo brood time, because, apologies do not come easily to Apep, and sorry I tried to kill you while I was a giant snake is a big apology to make.
Cool. So I think Apep, this is your domain, and I'm sorry, I'm just remembering something. This is your domain, Apep, and so you sort of have advantage of being able to lurk in the shadows here and spy a little bit on Tyr if you want to.
Yeah. So, because this is Atlantic City, I'm saying this cave totally had some, like, Prohibition era modifications. Like, there's kind of antiquated strung lights through parts of it, and bits that probably were a bar at some point, but haven't been touched in decades.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it probably has a functional room of some sort off in there somewhere. Maybe Tyr knows where it is. I don't know.
So I'm sorry, I was just remembering something that I thought of over our last break, and now seems a good time to circle back to it.
Yay.
We got a miracle out of you, Tyr, to end all of that stuff at the club, but we never got any consequences out of your miracle.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what you would choose there. And we're not like retconning. These are going to be like long-term consequences.
Ooh. I think. Oh, geez. I think that miracle took on a life of its own, and
Interesting.
yeah, peace and love, motherfuckers. And I think. Oh, this is really tempting. I think it makes sense for. Damn it! I'm really eyeing up someone you care about gets hurt. I think it has to be that one.
All right. I think we can see those weaving in the future.
Awesome.
So what does Apep see from you, Tyr, before you realize where he is?
So I don't think like Tyr is nosy enough to like poked around fully in like the brooding cave. Like I don't think he makes a habit of coming here like uninvited. I think he's probably perched on like a really old abandoned crate from like the Prohibition era days. Like it's probably sagging a little bit under like his weight, so he's just like perched his butt like on the corner. And I think he has like that banjo that he used to beat the shit out of Apep with like in his lap, and he has like one leg crossed over the other, and he's kind of like strumming to himself. It's echoing a little bit throughout this cave in a really sort of like mournful, regretful way. And he's probably humming to himself.
And as usual, Apep appears just outside the light, kind of steps into it in just the perfect way, so that it kind of cuts across him really strikingly. Like, and again with the fucking banjo?
I think Tyr like stops, his like fingers still like poised over the chord he was playing, and he looks a bit up it. And I think he lets his hands drop, but the banjo's like sort of slung around him, so it sort of like dips a little bit as it's still around his neck. And at first he smiles at Apep, but then he's not deserving of that smile. And he looks at you in the eye, and then he looks down at the at the floor. And he says, I see you've returned.
And Nappa takes a step further into the light, showing that the side of his face that was in shadow is just kind of bruised mess. It hasn't fully blossomed into how big a bruise it's going to be later. Right now it looks weirdly hot for a bruise. I mean, like, R.I.P always looks weirdly hot. And so, I'm not totally clear on what went down, but it seemed pretty rough. How are you doing?
I think Tyr, like, gets off of this crate. There's a creak as it sort of sags underneath that weight as he pushes off. He closes the distance between him and R.I.P. And he says, I don't know where to begin. I want to apologize for what I did. I don't know how much you remember, but I saw you lash out. And my first thought was to issue violence upon you, which you don't deserve. And I think like Tyr like places her hand like over the side of the cheek that is bruising significantly.
Yeah, and you can see just immediately sort of like, yeah, violence is totally what I deserve. It's like, I do remember a banjo. That kind of sticks in the mind.
It sticks in my mind as well. I replay it over in my head, the feeling when it connected with bone, and it plagued my dreams last night. Are you okay? You're not hurt?
I mean, you can see the damage here. It's nothing bad. I can walk that off.
You look captivating as ever. R.I.P.
And R.I.P sort of puffs up a little at that. Like, he knows this, but also it's good to hear you say it.
And I'll push a little bit there because I thought, Ryan, you had an interesting idea earlier of how this could lead into a healing situation. And Lauren, Tyr is definitely hurt. And
yeah, I was going to ask about that later. Like, are your wings still busted?
Oh, I think like one is probably still like, yeah, he has not recovered in the same way R.I.P did. I think part of that is just being stuck in his own head about like he probably deserves this pain, and it wasn't until Army like reached out to him that he started like recovering.
Yeah.
And just to lay it out there on the table, the healing move, when you take time to tend your wounds, you can heal 1 harm once per session. If someone else is there with you, tending to your wounds delicately and intimately, and perhaps with erotic subtext, you may heal an additional harm. So I wouldn't be one to tell you how to game the system, but
I think at this point, R.I.P is definitely kind of looking over to you and like, yeah, okay, you're not as well off as you're saying. I mean, you're fucking just dumb angel wings are broken. You're still wearing them around broken. What is wrong with you? And sort of ducks behind where there probably was some sort of structure at some point, but it's kind of rotting and not very well kept up. And pulls out, just like a tacky first aid kit. Like maybe he patches himself up with this because you know that he takes a lot of damage. That's how R.I.P rolls. And just opens up like, okay, so hold still. We'll do something about this.
Oh, sorry. He probably said something like very self-deprecatory, like I don't deserve this, R.I.P.
R.I.P just turns and stares with, purely Jamie eyes like, What are you even talking about?
And, you know, Tyr, Apep is covered in those terrible bruises. He looks like he's in a lot of pain and sort of wincing as he moves to tend to your wounds.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Apep style, he's trying not to look like he's taking any damage, but he totally has.
And I think if anything, like if Apep is trying to maneuver around Tyr, like Tyr probably follows and his broken wing probably like flaps uselessly like at his back. And he says, if anything, it should be me tending to you.
How do you tend to him?
He's got a bruise. I think he asks
Have
if
to
he...
be logical.
Yeah.
It could even be with like god magic-y stuff.
Oh yeah, it's totally God. I feel like Tyr is definitely a healer.
Ooh. So I think it's somewhere hidden in the rules, but you can use miracle type special effects to describe other moves without engaging the full miracle thing. So
Oh, awesome.
what does that look like?
Yeah, so I think like Tyr places his like palm against the like where that bruise is just scarring Apep's like gorgeous face, and I think he tenderly like strokes his thumb along like the like mottled skin, and his touch is like very warm and tender, but like imbued with this sort of electricity. Like it's almost quite sun-like, actually. And I think as he does that, like we see each brush of his thumb like strip away a layer of hurt, kind of like sort of layers of watercolor paint like over canvas. To sort of like strip each of them, just strip it away until like there's maybe just like the barest like sort of dots of purple like around like his eye there.
Apep totally leans a bit into it.
Oh no, that's super good. You can definitely both heal too. That's really good. But I'm sort of curious to see if that pushes further.
Yes.
So we could go to a roll, or you could just lean into it. Either way, how do you feel, Apep?
I'm down to roll too. Turn on. I feel like we've got competing turn-ons again here, though.
I think so too, but I think given the like emotional positioning, I think Apep's much more in power here. This is your place. Tyr's at very much a low. I think it would be your sort of shining beauty and kindness that would get through to him.
My shining beauty and kindness. That's things I'm known for. Shining beauty, maybe.
I didn't say Tyr was making great decisions right now.
That's only an 8. So I'm not rolling my best.
No, I'm
What
like,
does that mean for Hut?
Do I spend my believe in you?
That's terrible, and I love it. If you want to go for that.
Do you want to do it?
I kind of. Oh yes, yeah. Because I totally know what it looks like in my head, and I feel like that's exactly do it.
You believe in my ability to hit on you inappropriately after attacking you. Wonderful.
There's nothing problematic about it.
I don't, and you know, I don't think that's what you believe in. Apep. What part of Apep do you believe in? What do you think he doesn't see about himself?
It's in his nature to be this chaotic being of violence and rebirth, just that very cyclic nature of the two where they're doomed to repeat. But I know that despite the cycles we've had together where we've been so wrapped up in each other, where we've hurt each other, that this time is different. That there's something bringing the two of us together. And unlike the past, we're going to make something of it this time. I see that light in you in this cycle. I believe in you. And
he totally does believe in you.
And that totally, like, the comic book shot of this is like, I don't know, like, it has to be that sort of like lips to lips like shot of this, like, the sparest text of like, I believe in you, like whispered before he kisses R.I.P.
Oh. So R.I.P, you gain a string on Tier there, and Tier, you get a choice from the turn someone on list. I feel like I might know what it is, but it's your choice.
I can't believe I just spent my power to give someone a string on me.
I have so many strings on you, and I can't spend them because you keep throwing yourself at me. It's wonderful.
Yeah, no, I give myself to R.I.P.
That makes sense. Let's see. Interesting. So yeah, both of yours fire off pretty quickly there. As we fade to black in the glittering darkness of the cave. Why don't you both read your sex moves?
Oh, this is so
I was totally going to ask how far Tier intended to push that, because R.I.P was totally reading it as a sex thing. So.
Yeah, totally. Like, I think Tier is feeling vulnerable enough, and it's like a irresponsible, irrational mix of vulnerable and so sure this is going to go different. That, yeah. He'll fully fade to black on this.
Nice. So, Tier, what's your sex move?
When you have sex, erase all integrity. That's all it is. I have a level up sex move that I'm gunning for, which is when you have sex in a new way, you get to mark experience. But at this point in time, I just lose experience when I have sex with someone.
Amazing.
Lose integrity when I have sex with someone. Yeah.
And R.I.P?
When you have sex with someone, you establish a deep spiritual connection with them until either of you breaks the spirit connection by having sex with someone else. Add +1 to all rolls made to defend them. You can tell when the connection has been broken. So yeah, R.I.P doesn't have jealousy issues or anything.
No.
That's amazing. It's so appropriate for what's going on right now.
Oh god, that was my feels. And I think that's where we're sort of gonna come to our close for this one. As a sort of coda here, where are you, Moirai, when you get a text from Ares?
I think Moirai is like currently in the middle of disassembling the stuffed toys in the Moirai tent. Just like going to town on them with the scissors.
You get a text from Ares. Actually, you get a string of texts from Ares. They're they're panicked. They say you have to come immediately. Something's happened with Karen. You have to get there. You have to help me stop it. That's Parvati.
Snap.
Oh, snap. And so and then it's just this string of like cursing and exclamation points. And we're gonna end with you getting that and a bit of an ending song. So we're going to take like a 4-minute break, watch a song, run, do a bio break. And I just want to say, because this is skirting at some of our like will, won't, wants stuff that I can't speak right now, but at our lines and veils. So I want to explain this video, since it is sort of an inspiration for what's actually going on in the game. This is a music video. The people in it are all adults making fully informed adult decisions, but the people they represent in the game are all teenagers. This is not like creepy cross-generational thing. I just wanted to make that clear before we went into it. There we go.
Oh my gosh, that song choice was perfect.
Oh, that video that whole thing still gets me every time I watch it or hear it. All right, so that's our sort of like meta look at it. Moira, whenever you get to the location where Ares has pinged you to, you find this open field. It's like burned and scarred in the center, and you see this ring of very dead, very headless people around it, and Ares on the ground, just like weeping, and all you can make out from her is she says that Parvati, they burned her. When I got here, they were praying. And that's where we're going to cut. There were so many moves and stuff that pointed at like Parvati or random innocents getting hurt. It was amazing.
Oh man. Oh man.
No, I don't
What
feel
a
bad
freaking
about
game.
I know.
So, do people have time for a little bit of a debrief? I know we're right up at our time.
Definitely.
Okay. So I'd like to start with Wishes and Stars, because I think that'll help decompress emotions a little bit. But then here at the halfway point, there are just a couple of pointed like playtesty questions that I want to throw at you at the end. But who feels like starting for Wishes and Stars and stuff? I think Ryan feels like starting.
I was about to volunteer if nobody else wanted to. For my wishes, I still want more Moirai multiplicity stuff. We had a bit of it, but I didn't get enough of it, so I want more. That's awesome. And stars, heck. I'm gonna give a star to Lauren for leaning so hard into the unicorn darkest self thing, because that informed the entire rest of the session, and it was wonderful.
It was so good.
And I'm gonna cut myself off there so I don't star everything ever.
Alex.
Oh man. Goodness. So with wishes, I'm down for some interpantheon conflict. Lots of finger pointing, arguing, fighting. So down for just everything to become a giant mess. Stars, everything was so amazing. But I think my favorite scene was Patrick, that whole like Thor Ares fight. Like, holy shit, that was so cool. That was amazing. Holy cow, that was great.
Yay! David?
So, God, there was a lot of really cool things this session. Wishes, I'd love for more chances for us to just interact with each other and interact with some of the NPCs, but mostly with each other and see what's going on. I also already have an idea for Amy giving a performance, so I'm super excited about that. I've already picked out this song. I will probably email it to everyone later. I think maybe singing at the funeral.
Excite.
As far as stars, shit went down. Oh my god. The worst making out ever. It was like disastrous for everyone.
Which one? There were so many.
I know, exactly. Thank you for taking the shit show I was trying to create and running with it. That's definitely a huge star. Ryan, you played perfectly into that. I actually think one of the reasons I decided Amy ran away was I was like, oh shit, we may get into a situation where like our characters are literally trying to kill each other and there might not be an out. So
No, feel free to kill Up. You can't actually kill me according to the rules of Monster Heart, and that would be appropriate for me. So don't ever feel like you have to pull punches against Up. He can take it.
At the same time, I was like, well, okay, Amaterasu definitely runs from situations, and the sun's supposed to run from Apep, so yeah, that works.
I liked that sort of mythology mirror there, just to throw a quick star in. That was super cool.
Yeah. Oh my god, the Morai were pretty amazing this session, and I got to turn the tables on fucking Tyr. That was also really great. So yeah, it was great. There's a lot going on. Yeah, I think at this point, if we just like let ourselves just go with this shit, it'll carry us through and just keep making itself a bigger and bigger shit show. So yay, it's Monsterhearts.
And Lauren?
Oh man, so my wish is just like for. I feel like this episode was all like, for me anyway, like, hurt and angst, and like I'm looking forward to next episode being like the wrath of like Tyr as the judgment god for like,
Ooh.
for like the death of like a fellow god. I'm not quite sure how that'll manifest, but I feel like we're sort of gonna have the other extreme of Tyr, which is like that super judging, like you shouldn't hurt other people and you should protect and take care of everyone. So I'm looking forward to just all the blowout from when we start dying, what that means, like who's behind it, and all that fun stuff, and the paranoia and hurt comfort that comes along with it. Yeah. So I'm all jazzed for that. And then, oh man, my stars are so many stars. I think first I have to say, like, playing the Unicorn Playbook is so freaking rough because I feel like I spend a lot of it either hating myself, hating other people, or like restraining myself. So it's like you get to watch like all these amazing god fights and like fuck you, like I'm gonna fuck your shit up, and then I feel as Tyr, I'm like that whispery like indie voice of reason amongst like all these big powerful voices. So I'm glad playing heavily into the Unicorn Playbook was enjoyable because
it's been amazing thus far.
Oh, so with that, of course, like Master Starter Ryan, like it's so fun playing Tyr off of like Apep as the Chaos God, and Tyr being like I shouldn't care about them and I shouldn't want them, but like I can't help but gravitate towards like Apep's like gravitational pull and chaos and stuff, and I'm looking forward to like we've just sort of had this bookend of them connecting, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to like potentially go wrong and like do that cyclic thing Tyr was talking about, how like we hurt each other and then we come back to each other, but this time it's different. So I'm looking forward to that a lot. And yeah, so thank you so much like for being vulnerable and going to those like field places with me. I'm having a lot of bleed right now. So
I'm with you. That whole climax hit me harder than I thought.
Yeah,
given everything.
Oh yeah, and I'm glad that Ryan, I had you in that scene to like play that out because it felt very genuine and like organic. And just thank you so much for being you. And oh my god, Alex, like you are the god I aspire to be. Like with you, I forget exactly what you said, but it was like, oh, I think it was like, now it's my fucking turn. Like the way you delivered that line, all the emphasis was like so spot on, and I was like, yes, I am here for all of this. So it was really great seeing Moira like literally grab like all the strings and like command them in a very like tight, like decisive grip. And I felt like it was like a foil to sort of Tyr going, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I just did this useless thing. So it was good to like sort of cut between Tyr and like Moira. So like you were great. And that scene with Ami and Tyr was so sweet. And I want more of those like it's like sunshine, unicorn, like Sasquatch scenes were appropriate to sort of break up the drama and exploring that sort of unrequited romance, that kind of thing and stuff.
I'll get you someday, Tyr.
Oh, it's so sweet. I love it. Thank you for playing into that like unrequited role so well. Like you did a fantastic job of it, and Ami's is like such a delight. And I love how her innocence and naivety just causes problems. Like you're playing into like that role so well, and you're all amazing. And I can't believe I get to play this game with you. Oh my god! And Patrick, holy fuck, man! Like all your descriptions are so on point, and like I'm so like in awe and jealous of how you just like spout off all of this very vivid imagery about glitter and blood and like lipstick and all this stuff. It's like so, it puts me in the scene, and I am so envious of your ability to sort of like spout all this amazing stuff, and like the god fight where they made out and there was lightning and redness and light displays. It was so, I could have like sat here for 3 hours like listening to you narrate like what happens in this game, because it was so spot on. I'm sorry, that was like 6 million stars, but it was so good. I promise I'm done.
I feel similarly like jazzed up about this. For wishes, I'll go ahead and lay out like I very much agree with you, David. I want to see more like small interpersonal scenes between y'all and the NPCs, because anytime we have like a one-on-one in this game, it's just the fucking best scene I've ever seen or been a part of. And so like this is sort of a wish for myself of like I'm definitely going to scale back my planning for next time. I really enjoyed the apocalyptic club scene, but in my mind it was definitely about half as long, and we would have much more time to explore and just see where you went. So I really want to make sure that next time is all about like reacting to all of the shit that went down next time. It's how y'all move forward with your emotional journeys, or with investigating the thing with Parvati, or whatever you want to do. And so I'm gonna rein it in and give y'all space for that next time, because I really want to see what comes of it. But as for stars, oh geez, I could not have asked for this to go better. It was so good in every moment. I don't know how in 2 sessions of play, and granted we had the 3 hours of setup and everything, but in 2 sessions of real world play, I felt like it actually got to like a mid-season climax. Like this was all highs on emotional points for this episode, and it was amazing. I love that I got to throw some songs out there. These are songs that have been bouncing around in my head, and little scenelets that have been bouncing around in my head for months now. So it's wonderful to get to like assault other people with them. And I love that there was music ready to come back to me. I love the idea that there's a performance ready for Ami in the future. Like, I can't wait to see what that looks like. Geez, it was all really good. I could go through and name every single scenes, but all of your reactions, the way that y'all play into the feel of this world, the way that y'all play into the feel of the scenes, and especially those one-on-one scenes, is just mind-blowing. I liked this party as a sort of like high school party allegory, where it's like your first one where the parents are away and we've snuck in some booze and invited way too many people, and there's bad decisions and everybody hooks up with everybody in this weird incestuous mix of like the wrong people, not incestuous in the literal sense, but like in the friend sense, sorry. But all these like wrong choices and hookups happen in different corners and bedrooms and closets and out on the porch or whatever, and someone's throwing up from too much beer over there, and like this really captured that, but in a super heightened, great lighting scheme and glitter over everything sort of feel. So just thank you for going there with me. I cannot wait to see what happens next.
I have one extra wish because I've totally forgot something, which is like flashback scene at the start of Dick's episode, because I was totally going to confess to R.I.P that I had a vision about Parvati dying. And I told, because I trust R.I.P so much.
Luckily, we have a move to handle that.
Yes. So that's my wish, is that I hadn't forgotten that it is addressed in future.
I also want to say, in the looking at the future sense of things, I am so super glad that I have all of y'all for the next run, because I feel really comfortable about exploring and pushing more playtests with this and seeing where we can go with a different setup. I also feel sort of bad about like continuing to put it on the calendar if it's just gonna be y'all. So I think going forward with the quarterly playtests, like October through December, at least the first one, I'm gonna put it up blind at a time when I know y'all might be around, but to give more of a chance for other people to play, because I should stretch my comfort zones and try this with different people. And I feel bad like putting it up on the calendar, but not really.
No, I had a problem like that as well when I did my put up my second run of Night Witches. I'm like, I want to tell the people from the first run when it's going to happen so they have a chance to do it and get in it. But at the same time, I put it up and all the slots got filled up right away. I'm like, okay, guys, maybe that's not the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
And some of the people like back down to let people on the playlist, on the wait list, take spots. So I know where you're coming from on that.
Yeah, and I'm sort of learning and feeling out these dynamics as I get into it. So since last time on the recording, I told everybody that I was going to cheat and let y'all know. On the recording this time, I just want to let everybody know that I'm going to be fair and open it up next time. As for pointed playtest feedback, I want to check back in. We've had a couple sessions of letting things play out and letting you feel your characters. So I want to first ask about like the character creation and setup process. I feel like it's definitely given us good stories to go off of, but is there anything that we came up out of that, like your trait choices or anything of how we've tied in godly stuff? Is there anything that you feel like that was extraneous and hasn't been used? Or similarly, is there anything from your playbook that, like, looking over your base Monsterhearts playbook, is there anything that's been like, that hasn't come up or doesn't feel on tone anymore?
I mean, I feel like my moves and a lot of my playbook setup hasn't come up, but it was important to defining my character, because like when I initially saw the sex move, I was like, but how does that fit? And I was like, okay, sure. So Jamie actually is super possessive and stuff. Fine, that works. And then it did come up. But like my moves haven't come up at all, but I sort of like the character they give to me. So they work.
Do you feel like that's because there are other things you're reaching for instead, or because they're moves that just don't fit with the emotionality of your character?
I mean, I'm mostly reaching for the once again they return special moves, because why would I use a Monsterhearts move when I can use a God move? And I think like I could have applied Spirit Armor once, but it didn't even matter because that wasn't the coolest thing in the scene, so why bother? Because I mean, if I'm being hit in the face with a banjo, who cares if the sun is around? So
extra special bonus start. Thank you all for like leaning into the new moves and playtesting them out so I can see them in different situations. Super appreciated. Anybody else have feelings about stuff they're not using?
I mean, it's like I very much designed Amy around the Sasquatch move. So like I very well knew how they played together. I think, I think it does translate pretty well for a lot of the moves. I think the trick is maybe there needs to be, I don't know. Like, I think there are some Monsterhearts moves that just aren't super, like, compelling. Like, Spirit Armor, it's kind of like such a passive move anyways that, I totally get, what Ryan was saying there.
Totally took it just for flavor, not expecting that I'd ever use it. So
Yeah.
I'm content.
And I think I sort of feel that too, where like the basic moves are amazing and totally on point, and are like the darkest selves and the sex moves, and some of the playbook moves are definitely getting a lot of use, but there's some that just, yeah, they're not quite fitting with the genre here.
Yeah. But I don't necessarily think it's a fault of merging the two. I think it's just, and I think it is partially purposeful on Avery's part. So some of the moves are a lot more flashy than other moves, and it's and I think a lot of that is to give people the options of what sort of experience that they want to have. That said, as you expand out the setting, it may be worthwhile to think of, I think, a really good advice section of how to mix the mythology with the playbook is what's going to really carry people through. So, like, maybe very pointed advice of, like, say, when deciding your playbook, here's some things to think about. And then when deciding your moves, here's some more things to think about. So that way you're really helping people make the connections that will feel thematic. That's just my impression of what's going on.
No, I think that's great feedback, and I totally feel that. That whole wibbly wobbly, let's merge gods and playbooks sort of thing was very nebulous in my mind beforehand. Playing through it and seeing how it sort of echoed out is definitely helping me think about like how I could better guide people. So I think that's definitely something that could help in there. Yeah, Lauren?
Yeah, well, for the unicorn, I feel like this playbook was made for your game, because I think the only moves I ever hit have been like either turn someone on or unicorn moves, with the exception of like flashing out physically one time. So
your moves and playbook seem to have really carried over into this well.
Yeah, and I think part of it's like the prophetic stuff. So I know that, like, the source material is so wrapped up in like cyclic pasts and like those characters like Minerva, who are so intelligent, who kind of get what's going on, but really don't at the same time. And I feel like I'm trying to play into that kind of Minerva character with like trusting this like the ancient one, but having these like prophetic visions that are really scary, and who do you trust with those? And I think like that, or like, and the fact that I can like just say, oh, this prophecy happens, is like is so good for like bribing the source material that I know with like gods dying and that kind of thing. So like it's been like such a pleasure to blend the two together, because I can just like I've got narrative authority to say like this vision comes true and so is going to kill so and so. And then I think also what helps is the unicorn can write their own moral code, so I could tailor like what my character's lines were to like the setting. So it's like, like hurting people for sure, and like lying and being selfish and that kind of thing. Because I know that like gods are all about the opposite of that, so I can judge the crap out of them. So like the flexibility of this playbook, I think, lends itself to the setting in particular. And then also like I guess real flashy, despite the fact that you spend a lot of the time like hating yourself. For sure. Yeah.
Cool. And Alex? I feel like similar to Ryan, like we don't hit on a lot from your playbook.
No, yeah, I think pretty similar to Ryan. Like
Although
some really
that,
cool ideas with the moves
that use
that
of
like informed.
But that use of Esprit de Corpse last time, I think, is an especial standout of like, that was a cool moment, that was a cool move.
Oh yeah,
Where you were
ending
describing someone else's death to, I think, Tyr.
Yeah. I think it's definitely a good idea to keep the whole like, you can reflavor the moves if they don't make sense with your guard. It was a lot of fun.
But yeah, what are your feelings on the other parts?
Yeah, they're super cool to like inform who my character would be. Like the whole, that ending move of like the foreseeing your own death. Like there's a really big part of like who I base the Moirai around. There's a lot of like, my character came from these moves, but then I'm just like, it's a lot more fun to just play them as a character and then use the guard moves instead.
Okay. Cool. So that was the main parts I wanted to check in here. I think when we get to the end of the run, I'll want to check in on the god moves themselves, because I think we'll have seen them a lot more at that point. But one thing I'm thinking about changing going forward into the next run is the Veil has a pretty neat setting playbook. And I'm thinking of stealing that idea to maybe help guide the process through like Pantheon creation of like the building and where you are and what city we're set in and what sort of like real world themes we're wanting to pull into this particular game. Because I think that might speed through character creation, give some more sparking ideas there. But then a sort of mechanics change I do want to run past you and see what people's reaction to is we have the miracle move. And I think it's a really cool one to go to, but I don't want to completely like have those moves overshadow / overpower the other things out there. And we have the bit where you can use miracles to like narratively flavor other moves that you're doing. But I was thinking about maybe stepping that up and having something in there like, if you want to weave a miracle into another move that you're doing, you can make one pick off of the list instead of two and get a +1 to the move. What are people's reactions to that? David?
I don't think it's actually necessary. Like, you know, it's not necessarily the most explicit thing in the rules, but Powered by the Apocalypse says that you can basically, when you do a move, you can essentially flavor it however you want. Like, if you, like, for instance, I was always picturing if Amy ever flashes out physically, I'd have a choice of whether she just punches somebody or if she just unleashes the power of the sun on them. So, like, you know, maybe you could just say explicitly, feel free to use god powers as a description in any move. You know, at no mechanical effect. You know, really, it's just giving us the mental image. It's not about, you know, changing the odds. That's how I think about things.
Cool.
And Ryan, yes, you can.
I'll say it sort of came up on the idea of like, oh, what if no one ever uses the miracle move because they want to roll dice and have that excitement instead? This session has proven that's not so much of a problem. It is a draw for people to go to. But yeah, how do other people feel about that?
I mean, no, we paused exactly the right amount. You go first.
No, I think I second what David says. Like, it's you can kind of flavor how you do the move. So I don't think like one needs to be like concerned with like wrapping it in a second move to amp it up in any sense, because we're gods, like we can do whatever the fuck we want. But then also, I really love having the miracle move because it adds it adds that kind of god layer of I can do things and act in an adult way. So I think for me, this move is kind of like we saw it manifest in so many different ways this session where I was like, I want to use this to like de-escalate a situation, but there's no move for that in Monsterhearts because you're all like fucking teenagers who just amp up things and make
very
things
true.
worse. So it was nice to be able to have like the miracle move to be like, I want to like do what my god would do, which is help people and calm a thing down, which I couldn't, like the moves don't let me do in the base game. So I think that's where I was leaning on it the most, was being able to add that level of like wrongfully perceived adultness to how I would go about
That's
doing
a very interesting impression, and gives me, I think, something to actually watch out for, because like I do like that the miracle move as something to go to, but I don't want it to be so much of a pressure valve that it like lets off some of the emotional melange of Monsterhearts in an unsatisfying way. I haven't felt that yet, but that's something for me to watch out for. Thank you.
No problem.
So segueing to my comment, I at one point was between lash out physically and work a miracle, and being me, I immediately looked at so what are the downsides of these? And lash out physically, I'm really volatile. I might not have the downsides, but work a miracle had the downsides I wanted. Guaranteed! So it was the obvious choice, and I enjoyed having that, where I'm like, I can do something awesome, and it's going to backfire in the ways I want. Yay, I can drive the story forward by failing.
Okay, cool. Alex? David? Yeah.
Yeah, so I posted a comment in the chat, but I just wanted to make sure that it didn't get lost in the weeds. I think the miracle move is really good in that it gives us a sure shot, big effect with guaranteed big consequences. So if you need to make a change or if you need to see something happens, it's great to have there, but as big of an effect as you're going to have is as big of the consequences it's going to throw out there.
Cool, and that's very much the feel I was going for. So that's good to hear. Alex?
Yeah, I really like it because we've got like a balance, and that anyone can use it. Even like NPCs can do this crazy godly things just whenever they freaking want. So it's like, it's a super powerful move and it's super cool. But because we can all use it, it's like balanced. We're all equal in that way. And we can't just like, if two people are trying to like fight each other on something, they can't just solve it because both of them can do it. Everyone's on equal terms, and those equal terms are like super powerful. So I super dig it.
Cool. And I will try to lower levels of self-doubt and just go with things as they are for now. Thank you very much for all of that. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.